Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Network Sunday, March 3rd, 2019. This is episode 1571. And Steve, I'm sorry it's snowing. Stay inside. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Carbonite, the premier data protection platform for business with customizable cloud and hybrid backup for your servers. To learn more, visit carbonite.com. And by SimpliSafe, protect your home and family with an A-plus home security system. Visit simplysafe.com/twit for free shipping on any system order. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones here. We got your smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. We could talk about anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo, our phone number. And that's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, so feel free to call. Outside that area, yeah, you can still call. It's still free. You just have to use something fancy. You have to use your voice over the internet program. Skype will work. Skype out. 888-827-5536. Website, techguylabs.com. And we put everything there that you might hear on the show, so no need to scribble it down as you're trying to drive. Please don't. Please don't. Just go to the website at your leisure. It's open all the week long. techguylabs.com. And it's free. There's no charge, so there's no reason not to use that. Let's see. Coming up, we got a big show today. Sam Abuelsamid will come up about half past this hour. He's going to talk about cars. We've been talking about electric cars lately. And there's big news in the Tesla camp, big price drops. And Tesla's promising something I don't know if they can deliver. A lot of people are skeptical. Full autonomy soon. Elon says that Tesla's on the road right now will be able to drive city streets autonomously this year. What? Doesn't even seem possible. The return of our photo guy, Chris Marquardt. He's been on walkabout through New Zealand for the last, I don't know how many months. Anyway, he's back, I think. It says Chris. I see Chris. So that's great. Yeah, I guess this is March. I was expecting him back in March. Hard to believe we're in March. Snowed in, but we're in March. And then Johnny Jett, our travel guru, who is also on today because he's been traveling, of course, and he couldn't do it yesterday. So we've got Sam, Chris, and Johnny Jett today. We've got all the tech news. We've got lots to talk about. On Thursday, I'll be getting the new Galaxy S10 Plus. Not the foldable. This was a big week for folding phones. I don't even know if anybody wants them. Sometimes this happens in the tech industry. Sometimes, occasionally, the tech industry will come up with a product because people need it, want it. Usually it's because some person is scratching her own itch, said, oh, I really could use something that would aggregate all my news into a feed that I could read at any time, and writes it, and then, or makes it or builds it. And then she said, well, maybe somebody else would want this, and it's a business. That's the fairy tale, anyway, of Silicon Valley. The garage genius, the garage inventor. Actually, you could say that's what Steve Wozniak did with the Apple computer. He built it for himself and his friends, and then along comes this other Steve Jobs. And as Woz tells it, Steve would look at anything. Jobs would look at anything and say, I can make a business out of that. They'd already had a business selling blue boxes, ways to hack the phone system, illegal ways to hack the phone system. And Woz built this computer because he wanted one. Jobs looks at it and says, I can make a business out of that. He was right. Yeah, one of the most successful businesses of all time. But sometimes the tech industry comes up with stuff just because they need something new and they don't know what anybody wants, so they make it up. And honestly, I think that's what folding phones are. Did you think, oh man, I love my smartphone, but if only it would unfold, I would be so much happier. I don't think anybody said no one ever. I don't think anybody said that. If only that would just unfold. And another thing no one ever said, Phones are too inexpensive. They need to cost more. These folding phones cost a lot. Samsung announced a couple of weeks ago. Has it been that long now? It's a week and a half ago. The Samsung Galaxy Fold. Clever name, what? It's like a little book. It has a 4-inch screen on the front, and then you open it up, and then it somehow, magically, the screen is bendable, and there's no, break in between the screens. One screen that you unfold it, and there it is, the whole screen, 7-inch screen. And Samsung announced to gasps that it would start at $1,980. Why split hairs? Let's make it 20 with tax. A lot more, actually. 2,000 schmackarooge. But then they got topped. Because then Huawei, which is the Chinese company you're not supposed to buy any products from, by the way, just a little reminder. Not sure why, but you're not supposed to. Huawei, yeah, like the Chinese care what I'm doing. They're spying on me, sure. Google and Facebook, they're not spying on me. Oh, well, maybe they are. My internet service provider, he's not spying. Oh, maybe he is. But I'm supposed to worry about China? It's almost like pay no attention to all the people in the U.S. spying on you. China might be spying on you. Don't buy a Huawei phone. Get one of our nice American phones made in China and use those. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. The reason I digress, I'm a little irritated because Huawei will not be selling its phone in the U.S., although that's going to save me $3,000. $3,000. It's a trifold. It's kind of a wacky design. And the screen's on the outside, not the inside, which means to me it's going to be the most fragile tech product ever made. And you thought your iPhone was slippery in glass. So, but again, it's not because suddenly consumers are pounding the counter of their local phone stores saying, where are our folding phones? You promised us folding phones. Actually, to be fair, you promised us flying cars. We don't have those either. But no one promised us folding phones, even in science fiction. If we saw the iPad in 2001, A Space Odyssey from the 70s, right? They're holding a glass slab. Looks like an iPad. We didn't see any folding. There was no folding involved. But I guess the idea is you want to pocket it. I understand what they're saying. Here's what the consumer demand has told them. We want something thin and light with all-day battery life. We want to use it not just as a phone, really, but as a computer, a little pocket computer always connected to the internet. And by the way, we want lots of screen real estate. And folding is really the only way you can pocket a phone with more than, say, 6 inches. This is a 7-inch diagonal phone. And actually, I think that's the Galaxy Fold. I think I don't know what the measurements are on the Huawei Mate X is the name of that, in case you want it. There's also a phone definitely nobody asked for. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you did. You know those old slap bracelets the kids had? You know, the little piece of plastic that's straight, looks like a ruler, and you slap it on your wrist and goes whoop, wraps around your wrist. You know that? This is kind of like that. It's a bracelet phone. You don't slap it. That would probably break it. But you can wrap it around your wrist. It's got a big screen that goes around most of your wrist. It's pretty wide, pretty thick. I imagine fairly inflexible, which means it's not going to feel like a bracelet. It's going to feel like a shackle. It's kind of appropriate. But it also unfolds and looks like a phone. That's from TCL, another Chinese company. No one said anything about TCL. Just Huawei. I don't understand it. Anyway, I have to give you the heads up. That's what's coming. I will have the only real one among all these, the Galaxy S10 Plus. I ordered just as a curious experiment. You know, they have the S10 starts at $700. I think that's the 10e. And then there's a 10, and then there's a 10 Plus, and the price, of course, gradually goes up to the most expensive version, which has a ceramic back, white or black. It has 12 gigabytes of memory, which I'm curious. I mean, I want to know, does that make a difference? iPhone only has 2, I think. No, Apple doesn't talk about it. And it has, and this is the wild part, a terabyte of internal storage and the capability of adding an SD card that would raise that internal storage to, I don't even know what, more than your computer, probably. I had to order it, right? Because I have to review it for you. I do. Honest. It's my job. I got to do it. So Thursday I'll have that. Next week I'll talk about the S10 Plus Super Premium Edition. You don't even want to know. Hey, it's cheaper than the Galaxy Fold. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. The fabulous Kimmy Schaffer, coming up. She's answering your calls, and let's get you on the line right after this. It's the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer. She got it. Hey. Hello, Kim.
That is what I was called all my life. And to be being
Kimmy?
called that again, yes, I was Kimmy Schaffer. I stopped writing that on my papers in 6th grade. I thought I would grow up. But
when did you stop? When did your friends stop?
They haven't.
Okay, so it's okay then.
If you've known me since I was little, you call me Kimmy, and my really good friends call me Kimmy.
Kimmy.
So
Kimmy.
it works.
It's cute. It's cute. We're trying to make a special version of the theme song from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt for you. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer.
Kimmy don't take no Schmidt.
That's it. That's your slogan.
Kimmy don't take no Schmidt.
No Schaffer. Kim is our phone.
Well.
No, it doesn't. Kim is our phone angel. She's answering your calls,
Yep.
and then grooms you for your appearance on national radio.
I try.
You groom them so lovely, so nicely. Sometimes we have to tell people.
Sometimes they're still a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, please brush your hair. When's the last time you were at a barber? But other than that, we don't judge. We don't judge.
We can't see you.
Who should I start with?
Ken in Merced has a few different phone options, and I think he wants you to point him the right direction.
This is a golden era for people who will like phone options.
Oh, yeah, phone options are great.
Lots of them. What do you have? I don't remember.
Yeah, I've got the
iPhone,
the massive,
the XS, the XS Max, the Tennis Max.
Yep,
it's a nice phone.
It is. It's way too expensive.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Wait till you see the new one I'm getting.
I don't even want to look at it. I don't want any kind of temptation coming my way.
Next week I'll show you. No. I'll show you mine.
Don't.
You show me yours. But first, let's go to Ken in Merced. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome.
Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not into those expensive phones. I'm using one of those track phones.
No shame in that. It's ridiculous. In fact, there is probably a considerable amount of shame in spending, $1,000 on a phone, especially since it's not going to, it's a couple of years you're going to get a new one. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, it's around time I need a new one, and it's only because when I went to Chromecast, it said my 4.3 on my current.
Oh, you do have Android, huh?
Huh?
You do have Android.
Yeah, I've got an Android now.
Okay.
Got a Samsung.
Yeah, you need a newer one for Chromecast. And by the way, for your own personal peace of mind, because security on Android, on the older Androids, is terrible. They don't keep them up to date anymore after a certain point.
Yeah, this is. I tried updating it, and that's as far as it went. 4 point.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a track phone, and you didn't want to spend a lot of money on the phone any more than you wanted to spend a lot of money on the subscription. Truthfully, the subscription often costs more than the phone over the long run, right? If you're paying $80 a month, that's almost $1,000 a year, right? So get a track. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not like you surfing on there. Believe it or not, I'm surfing with a Chromebook because it's safer.
Good man. So the only thing you want to do besides phone calls is Chromecast.
Partially, yeah. And unfortunately, it worked before, but all of a sudden they went and upgraded Chromecast.
Oh, man.
I get the picture, but I don't get any sound. And it used to work, and now it doesn't. I don't.
Yeah, I see that Google says Android 5 and higher. You're so close. I wouldn't recommend Android 5, though, unless you're not using it for anything else, which it sounds like you're not. I mean, you don't want to go on the net with that thing. You want to not download any apps because apps can be dangerous, too. It's like running Windows XP or maybe even worse. So you're a little out of date. So if you could get a new phone, do you have a budget for it?
Well, I'm looking at theirs. Yeah, I can afford $200-300.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the ones on there. They've got an iPhone 6S.
That's not bad. Do you want an iPhone or do you want to stick with Android?
I like Android because I was going to ask you about this iPhone 6S. You can't put in SD cards or anything.
No.
Can you?
No. I would look at my favorite low-priced Android phone is from Motorola, the Motos. And they have a whole series of G phones. The latest is the G7, but that's not quite out yet. You don't need a G7. That's $300. The Moto G6 though is $179.99. That's last year's, and it's great.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that might be
great.
the way to go. I had a Motorola before when I had a flip phone.
Yeah, no, that's right. They were they created the cell phone. They were the first. Remember those ones you carried over your shoulder because it had such a big battery, and the phone itself was the size of a regular phone handset. And remember that? That was Motorola.
I didn't have one back.
They're owned now by a Chinese company, Lenovo. But Lenovo's a good company, and the Moto Gs are great. I mean, go to your carrier; they'll probably carry them. If they don't, you can get them unlocked from Motorola. Who's your phone company?
Yeah, like I said, it's a track phone, and I'm looking at
Oh.
the track phone site, and I can get a G6 for
Perfect.
$180.
Perfect. That's the list. The other thing you could do is go to Google Store or rather Google fi.google.com.
Yeah.
They're another carrier. Look at their price. Compare it to your track phone cost. You might save some money. It's $20 a month for unlimited calls and texts. And then you pay for data, $10 a gigabyte. Since you don't use any data, that's a $20 a month phone for you.
Yeah, for like $20, believe it or not, I use my phone so little that $20 on a track phone, and it'll last me for 3 months. And
Okay.
I usually run out
There you
I run out of the length of time before I run out of the minutes on
Perfect.
the phone.
If you go to Google Fi, it sounds like you got a better deal. But if you do want to go Google Fi, they're selling the G6 for $99 because you're signing up for an account.
Yeah.
So that's but yeah, the G6 is a great choice. It's bigger than your existing Samsung. It's a pure, pretty much a pure Google experience. They keep it up to date. It has actually a very good camera, better than what you have right now. I know you don't use any of these features, but the good news is it works great with Chromecast too. These for low cost Android phones, I think the Moto is absolutely my choice. There's some others that, if you're willing to spend a little bit more, like the OnePlus phones are very good. I would, and I'm a big fan of Google's Fi service, but that's only for people who are already spending, that kind of money. You're not. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Sam Abuelsamid comes up in just a moment. We're going to talk about high-tech automobiles next. Our show today brought to you by Carbonite, our podcast. Carbonite's a podcast sponsor as well as a radio show sponsor, and they have been for years. I'm a big fan. Now, I have to do maybe a little correction because for years I talked about Carbonite as the backup solution. But really, they want to go a little bit farther because they want to be, and they are, considered the premier data protection platform for business. And it's just a contextual shift. Of course, backup is part of data protection. Your data is everything in business. It's your business. It's your accounts receivable. It's your customer list. It's your supplier list. It's everything, right? That hard drive is really critical. So in business, you want to protect your data, but things happen, as you can see. They happen all the time, like ransomware, like fumble-fingered employees, like user error. And data protection goes beyond backup. Of course, Carbonite has backup for servers, for the cloud even. So if you're in one cloud and you want to move to another cloud, easy peasy with Carbonite. But they also have data protection for laptops and phones, endpoints they call them, because they're out there in the world with your data. You need a little something extra for that, right? Like full encryption so nobody can get at that data. And you probably also want remote wipe capabilities. Carbonite gives you that too. They have a very strong enterprise-grade endpoint protection with end-to-end block-level encryption, 256-bit at rest. Each set has its own encryption key that protects your data from cyber attacks. And they understand when you're out there in the real world, bandwidth's important. So they have global deduplication. You don't have to back up the same file 100 times. 100 phones, 100 data. Now, one for all of them because it's the same, right? Smart about stuff like that. It also conserves bandwidth, but also battery. Anyway, it's got a lot of nice settings. Truth is, Carbonite offers scalable, secure server backup solutions, flexible deployment models, flexible recovery options, including high availability backup with real-time replication and cloud failover, so you're back up and running in seconds, even if the whole business falls into a sinkhole. You go to your remote site, flip a switch, and you're up and running again seconds later. That's not going to happen to you, but this is the point about data protection. You got a plan for every contingency. Carbonite. Simplify your environment, eliminate gaps in your data protection, reduce costly redundancies by going to one vendor that does it all. Carbonite. Carbonite Technologies will help you build a comprehensive single-vendor solution for your workloads, your risk tolerance, your business objectives. And, man, they are a secure, trusted provider. I've trusted them for, it must be a decade now, offering award-winning customer service 7 days a week. It's why I don't worry about ransomware. Never have. Never have. Learn more about Carbonite's data protection platform for business. You can find out about it at Carbonite.com. Carbonite. Carbonite.com. We are so grateful to them for supporting the Tech Guy podcast. It's time for our car guy from Navigant Research, senior researcher Samuel Abuelsamid. Actually, it's probably not Samuel, is it?
No, it's legally on my ID. It says Samir.
Samir. I like that. I'm going to call you Samir.
Okay, if you're speaking to me in Arabic, you can call me Samir. Of course, I won't have a clue what you're saying, but
Hi, Sam. Great to talk to you again. Sam is a longtime auto guy. He's worked for all the big car companies, and he's right now a senior researcher in the field. And I know you want to talk about a new navigation system in a second. I do want to talk about that, but I have to ask you a little bit about Tesla's been in the news for a couple of things. First of all, they closed their dealerships.
They are starting to close their dealerships. Apparently, according to reports, they closed 15 of them yesterday. Another 30 are closing on Monday, and over the next couple of months, they're going to shut down all but a small handful of them.
Isn't that wild? For a long time, they were fighting states like Texas that didn't allow them to have dealerships.
Right, because most states have franchise laws that prohibit car makers from selling directly to consumers. They have to go through dealers. And
that's called the Dealer Protection Act. That has nothing to do with consumer protection.
Well, I mean, it's over the history of the industry. It's actually been good for automakers too. But this isn't really the show to discuss that. We can discuss that. But
Tesla says they're going to save a lot of money by not having dealerships, sell everything online, which frankly is how I bought my Tesla, and I got no problem with that. And as a result, they've lowered the costs for these cars significantly. Right, the prices have gone way down.
Yeah, I mean, they lowered the cost. It's not clear how well it's going to scale, actually delivering everybody's cars directly to their homes instead of to a smaller number of
they're not going to even have the service centers anymore? They got to have service centers.
They're still going to have some service centers, but they're going to mostly do service at home again or at your office, for those jobs that they can do. And
that's worked for me very well. I had my battery changed, a mirror put on. They come to you. It's great.
Oh, they changed your battery at home?
Yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't think not the big battery, just the 12 volt.
Okay.
No, they didn't bring a giant Tesla-sized battery. No, the 12 volt. Yeah, actually, AAA does that all the time on the roadside. And but I have a mirror that went wonky. They replaced that. But you're right. They're still going to need somewhere where they can lift the thing up in the air, and stuff like that.
Right, and it's still not clear. How this is going to affect the states where Tesla still hasn't been able to sell, like, for example, Michigan.
Right.
Currently they can't have company-owned stores in Michigan. And so Michigan customers have to go to Ohio.
They have to go out of
Chicago.
state to get repairs?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for small repairs, they'll come and do those. It's just the sales that's the problem. So
they have a very nice. I went to the factory to get mine in Fremont, and they have a very nice delivery process, I thought.
Yeah, actually, a lot of luxury car makers have those factory delivery programs.
Yeah, I like that. I don't want to waste all your time on Tesla, but I thought we'd mention those two stories. And then there's a third story, which maybe we'll save for another day. Elon is now once again overstating the capabilities of autopilot. He says soon he'll be able to drive on city streets.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody that even though Tesla is now, again, selling full self-driving, these systems are not actually fully self-driving. You do have to pay attention. Keep your hands on the wheel. Do not, go to sleep. Don't take a nap. Don't climb in the back seat if you're driving your Tesla with the system on.
I would never dream of it.
We had a couple of fatal Tesla accidents earlier this week. It's not clear yet if autopilot was involved, But there were two crashes in Florida this week that both resulted in fatalities.
How many crashes of non-Tesla vehicles were there this week?
Many more than
like
that.
100,000?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I feel bad for Tesla. 2 crashes, it's news. 100,000 gas vehicles crash. Yeah, that's business as usual.
Yeah. Well, on average, people crash. People have crashes about once every 500,000 miles.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and that's all. That's all crashes, not fatal crashes.
Right.
Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today a little bit was what 3 words, which I think you've talked about a little bit in the past on Twit.
I love what 3 words. I don't know if it's going to take off, but it's very cool. Are people putting it in their cars now?
Yeah, we're starting to get it in cars. And so basically what it is, this company started in 2016. They basically put a grid over the entire planet, 10 by 10 foot squares, and assigned a 3-word code to every single grid, any 3 random words. And so it's an interesting approach. Instead of using long strings of digits to put latitude and longitude coordinates, you have 3 words that assign any grid on the planet or any square on the planet. And last year, Mercedes-Benz added it in their new MBUX infotainment system and a couple of models that launched. And this week at MWC, Ford announced that they were adding support for what 3 words into their sync system.
Oh,
so
neat.
when you hook up your phone to sync with AppLink, if you have the what 3 words app on your phone, you can either press the voice button or tap on the screen and say the 3 words for the destination you want to go to. It'll go to the phone, find out that location, pass it back to the navigation system, and guide you there. Of course, it's not quite clear exactly how they're going to implement this if you don't happen to know the 3 words. But it's an interesting approach because it's much more precise than street addresses. And in a lot of parts of the world, we don't even really have good valid street addresses, and even here in the US, sometimes the street addresses can be a little wonky, especially for a location like, for example, if you go to a football game at Levi's Stadium and you want to meet somebody somewhere, or you want to get dropped off somewhere, do you want to be on one side of the stadium or another? If you want to go to, for example, the museum, the 49ers museum, you would use evenly monkey brains. And that's the code for the front door of the museum. Or if you want to go to the Intel gate, it's paying chose stews. So, it's completely random words. You can use the app to find, scroll around on a place and find the exact square you want to go to, and it'll show you what the code is. So I'm trying to get a demo from Ford soon and give you a little more information on exactly how they're doing it. But it's going to be I think a really interesting approach to solving some of the problems of navigation, especially for ride hailing, because a lot of times trying to find the exact spot where you want to be picked up or dropped off can be problematic with just addresses.
We are Glow Walnut Nasal. If you want to come visit us, I actually have a little metal plaque that I put up.
Oh, on the door?
Yeah, when people come here, they know they're at Glow Walnut Nasal. There are, as you said, there are a lot of places where there are no addresses at all, and so this is very valuable. I think it's easier to remember Glow Walnut Nasal than our actual street address.
It can
it's a little random.
Yeah,
I understand.
That's the issue is the randomness, but
it has to be.
Once people get used to it, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, my friend Rebecca Lindland, who does the Wheel Bearings podcast with us, she's on vacation in India right now. We were talking about this the other day, and a lot of the places there don't really have specific street addresses, but you can, if you're trying to use an Uber or an Ola over there,
exactly,
you can give them just that 3-word code, and they can find their direction, find their way to where you want to go.
And if you go to the What 3 Words website, you can use their map and enter in your address and find out what your 3 words are. The nice thing is it's very specific. Glow Walnut Nasal is the 9 or 10 meter square area where our front door is. But if you wanted to go to the back door, that would be another separate and by the way, unrelated 3 words. They're very clever at how they allocate the words. So it's not like Glow Walnut Oral. It's completely different.
And you can do this with latitude and longitude. One of the questions.
Yeah, but remember
that. Wrong with that.
Remember that.
The problem with that is every degree of longitude is 69 miles.
Yeah.
So if you want to get that level of precision, you're going to have like an 8-digit number for longitude and another one for latitude to get that same level of precision. And I think it's a lot easier to remember 3 words than 16 numbers.
I agree. What 3 words? And I'll tell you 2 words that mean car. Sam Abuelsamid. He is our car guy, and we're glad to have you. Sam, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you in a week.
See you next week, Leo.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo. And 2 weeks from today, I will be in the studio with you with the Kia Niro EV.
We'll plug that. I'll plug it when we get back. That's exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. Lisa will be excited, too. She's going to drive that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I was just driving the Hyundai Kona, which is the same powertrain last week. And it's slightly shorter, but it's really nice. It's a lot of fun to drive.
Oh, cool.
Looking forward to the Niro.
Yeah, I can't wait. Does it have that one button stop and go thing? What do you call that? I can't remember. For the shift or no the Leaf,
you mean
the Leaf
for the regenerative braking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, So Hyundai and Kia do it slightly differently. You can get you can adjust the amount of regen you get, and if you put it on the strongest regen, it doesn't take you all the way to a stop. But all you have to do is hold the paddle. So there's like a shift paddles on the wheel to adjust the regen. If you hold the left shift paddle, it'll bring you all the way down to a stop.
So it's like a brake button.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably easier just put my foot on the brake. I don't understand the point of having a separate button, but okay. Whatever turn rocks your boat. And don't forget, the next time you talk to Porsche.
Yes.
Who has 2 thumbs and can't wait to buy a Taycan? This guy.
All right.
Lisa thinks I'm nuts. She says, you got to drive it. I said, I don't want to drive it. It's a Porsche. I don't have to drive it. It's a Porsche.
It's the perfect car for you.
Yes, exactly. An old, fat, rich man. That's who drives sports cars. You always see it. They're wearing caps because they're bald.
They're usually the only ones who can afford
it. No kid who would want it can afford it.
Yeah. Well, the kids that can afford it are the ones that are working in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, they can afford
130 hours a week.
They got Lambos.
And have no time to drive it.
Yeah, they don't get to drive it, but they've got a Lambo in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Hey, it's great to talk to you, Sam. I can't wait to see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Talk
to you next
Take care. Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I wish we had some sun. Another Arctic weekend. I'm in California. I'm just sympathizing with you. It's cold here. It's in the 50s. It's freezing. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Neil is in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's probably 110 in the shade. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Leo. Nice talking to you again.
Great to talk to you.
Taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Listen, I'm calling you back because we spoke a few weeks ago about the Helm server, if you remember.
Yes.
And I have now received it.
Awesome. Should mention they're a sponsor of the podcasts.
Now, I should say it's set up very easily. Actually, I followed the directions. I had the domain, and it actually worked very well. I had a few glitches, but I should say that Helm support was quite good, and they're still working on a few issues, but they have resolved most of those for me. And I did run into a couple of things, questions maybe I'm hoping you can answer because they didn't have a solution for this one.
Oh, boy. And they have very good support, so now I'm worried. Go ahead.
Well, no, it isn't that the server's not working. It's more about a couple things. One, I found with my custom domain, it's a .email, that some websites don't accept it as an email address.
Okay, that is a big point. One of the reasons it's hard to run a home email server is that a lot of email recipients, internet service providers, Google, Yahoo, Outlook, and places like that, will block mail unless it's from a approved IP address. There are these, basically you're in a black hole. And actually Helm does kind of address this. So if I just set up a home server right now with my Comcast IP address, chances are really good because my IP address is in a block of residential IP addresses. I wouldn't bet, even if Comcast would let me send email out, it wouldn't arrive anywhere. They'd bounce it right back saying, no, this is because spam is such a problem. So what Helm does is, and this is one of the tricky things they do, is the email isn't actually coming from you. Your server stores it all. It's encrypted and then sent through Amazon Web Services. Helm has a bunch of servers with IP addresses that Helm has pre-qualified. So they're not from a residential block. They're IP addresses that they've tested to make sure that Google and everybody else will accept mail from them. And the problem is they do test it against the big companies, but maybe they don't test it as often from the little companies. They also do a number of things that usually help mail get through, like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. These are mail authentication protocols, and some companies, like Google, really want to see that, reverse DNS, things like that. All of this is about avoiding spam. The reason being a lot of people have home computers have been corrupted, compromised by bad guys, and are sending out millions of spam email addresses, or would be if internet service providers didn't block it, and if mail server companies didn't block it. Still a lot of spam gets out. So the best thing you can do is just keep sending email to those addresses. One of the things they suggest in the guide with Helm is that you kind of precondition servers by sending as many emails as you can to a variety of addresses. I have addresses at many of the services like Gmail, Yahoo, and Outlook.com. So when I got my Helm server, I sent out messages. I haven't had any trouble with bounce back, and you probably won't with those big guys. It may be the little guys will. And who is it?
No, this is more about individual sites. Like, for example, I would go to say Citibank.com or something like that, and they say it's not. They don't accept.
Oh, they don't accept .email. Well, that's just they're dopey. So .email is a relatively new domain. I use a .email address too for my personal Helm email, and it's a relatively new TLD, like .com, .net. Those are TLDs. .email is, I don't know, it's not more than a year or two old. And Citibank's just dopey. You got to say, hey, Citibank, this is a legit email. .email is legit. It's approved by ICANN. Many people use it. They just haven't rewritten their software. I've seen that too, and I haven't seen it very often. What you probably did is just use your old address, right?
Right. Well, I had it set up initially with Gmail. I'm trying to move them over to the Helm address. Yeah. And that's what I'm running into. Well,
send a note to.
They say no, they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do is say, hey, Citibank, you're wrong. You can, if you want, you can send them the documentation from ICANN that .email is legitimate. And it's up to them to fix it. So what they have, everybody has this. They have JavaScript running on their website that looks at email, make sure there's an @ sign, there's a dot sign, and the dot something makes sense to them, and they reject stuff that doesn't make sense to them. And apparently they haven't rewritten their site in a while, and so they don't know about .email. So that's different from black hole software blocking it. I understand. I apologize. I misunderstood your question. Have you had any trouble with bounce backs from Gmail or Yahoo or any other email servers?
Not anymore. I did have one with .me with iCloud.com, me.com.
Yeah, it usually resolves itself.
I don't have to fix that.
Yeah, it resolves itself, and that's all doable. And I have seen occasionally, it's very rare, people will have some sort of JavaScript, email validation routine that doesn't understand all the domain names. There's new domain names, a lot of them coming along. They're completely legitimate. They're approved by ICANN, which is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They're the global authority on what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate for a dot. And .email is absolutely appropriate. I love .email. My wife won't use it. She said it doesn't sound like a real address. I have to fix her JavaScript too, apparently.
Now, I do have one other question if I can fit it in here. I've got the contacts in. I had to get them in there, and Helm had me download the contacts file from Google and then email it to myself, and I was able to send it through. But I have an iPad and an iPhone, as I may have mentioned before. The problem is now I've got the calendar, and maybe you've done with this one. There's no way I can see to bring the calendar, the iCal files that I downloaded into the
Right.
iPad so that I can push them up to the Helm. I'm hoping you have a suggestion about
Yeah, there's a way to do it. So for people to understand this, Helm is not just a home email server, and this is the case with most email servers. It also supports calendaring and address books. And so if you're currently using Google, for instance, for that or some other service, you can move your calendar over to the Helm calendar and email address just by exporting it from the service and getting it over there. Same thing with iCal and Out Address Book. They have export commands, and you export them out, import them on the Helm. And then the key is to change what you're doing on the iPad and the iPhone. If you look in the account settings on both, you'll see a number of accounts, your Helm accounts, but also whatever you're using previously for calendar, including iCal. If you look at the iCloud setting, you can turn off mail, calendars, address book. You can turn off synchronization. So you want it turned on. Once you export it all and import it into the Helm, then you'll turn it off for everyone else. Unless I keep my Google on, so but you don't have to. You don't have to sync. You can have it only sync with the Helm. Does that make sense?
I understand that, Leo. It makes sense, but I think you're missing the point. I've got the files on the iPad, and normally I would have imported them into the calendar app on the iPad or the iPhone, but there's no import mechanism to do that.
No, you don't do it that way. Yeah, you don't do it that way. What you do is you set up your iPad, just as you did your iPhone, to synchronize with the calendar on the Helm.
Okay, did that.
Then that should just...
How do I get the calendar into the Helm?
You export it from iCal anywhere. It doesn't have to be from the iPad. It's the same calendar, right? Your iCloud calendar is the same calendar everywhere. Is that correct, or do you have a separate iPad calendar?
No, it's the calendar from Google, which now I have the calendar from Google, but if I turn that one off, I don't have the calendar anywhere in the Helm until I get that Helm, until I get the calendar from Google into the phone or the iPad so I can push it out to the Helm.
You only have to do it from one device. Once it's in the Helm, every other device will synchronize.
Right, but how do I get the files into the Helm, I guess is what
I thought you had already accomplished that.
No, I got the contacts in there. That was easy.
Oh, I see. But
calendar that I can't get. There's no calendar import. That's what I'm trying to do.
So you're able to export your calendar, but you can't tell the Helm import it.
That's right, because I have to get the calendar into the phone or the iPad, which, as you say, only one would matter. But there's no import function in the calendar app in Apple unless you have a computer, which I don't have.
Yeah, you can do it in iCloud. That would be a failing in the Apple world. I'll have to think about that. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I didn't realize you don't have a computer. Yeah. That's a kind of a failing of Apple. There's got to be a way to do it. I have to think about it. If you've got everything synced into Google, you can export it from Google. I will have to check that out. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So
basically what I did is I exported the files from Google, and I put them and I emailed them to myself. So I've got the files in the iPad.
So Helm is saying that the only way you can get them into the... See, I haven't tried this, so I don't know. Helm is saying the only way you can get them into the Helm calendar and contact is by putting them on an iPad?
Importing them into the... What they're saying is import them into the calendar, and that will then push them out to the Helm, which is what I did with the contacts, and that worked just fine for contact. But there's no calendar function in the iPad or the phone, which is the same app anyway. There's no importing function of the calendar files like there is with the contacts.
I think you just use sync instead of import.
But I don't have the files in the calendar. I have the files on the iPad, or actually an iPad.
Yeah, but import them honestly, if you're synchronizing your iPad to Google, it should have all that information in its calendar. Yes?
Right, but I want to get the calendar from Google and put it into the Helm instead.
Yeah, just synchronize all of it. Won't it synchronize? Or maybe it won't because it says... Did you ask Helm about this? Did they say we don't know?
Well, they were saying, well, use a. They're the ones that said to take the contacts as an example
and mail them,
download them, and then email them to yourself, and then import them into the address book, which worked fine. There's just no such.
There's no import into calendar, is what you're saying.
Right. If I had a Mac, I could do it because the calendar app in the Mac would do that. But I don't want to have to go out and buy a PC or a Mac just so I can do this.
Here's one idea. Use your iPad to log into your iCloud account in Safari.
Okay.
In the browser, and see if that has an import. If you could do it in Safari, you just have to get it into iCloud somehow.
Right. And getting into iCloud.
Seems to me this is a roundabout way of doing it. It's synchronizing, and it should synchronize. What you want is one canonical source of calendar and address information. You want that to be the Helm. And so you need to get it all into the Helm, and then you'll synchronize it to whatever you want and turn off Google and iCloud for all of those things.
Right. The contacts are done. It's just the calendar that's proving to be difficult. Because I'm gonna have to.
I try see if and I don't know. See if iCloud will let you import. It does seem to me that this is a roundabout way to do something that should be much more straightforward. But maybe, why wouldn't Apple include an import calendars feature? I don't know.
Only in the Mac.
Yeah. Isn't that weird that they don't do it on the iPad? And Sync doesn't do it either.
No, because you have to get the calendar. The file, I guess, exists. If you think about it, it only exists really in the cloud, right? You're looking at a picture of your calendar on the device, right? If you're using an iCloud, Google Calendar, for example.
Well, you got me, Neil. I'm baffled at this point.
Turn the calendar off, it goes away. Yeah.
What were the issues you had with the Helm, just out of curiosity, that they're working on?
Initially, I couldn't get the import to complete properly, so they had to tell me how to delete the prior import and then try it again. It seems to be working fine now.
Okay.
And then the other issue I had, which they fixed, the other issue was when I was having rejects from .me and .me.com, and they had to contact the company that did not ban my IP address.
Yeah. And the truth is, they needed to do that anyway because it's a block of IP addresses. They probably got all of the Helm block unblocked, and that's the one issue. If you're not using a big company like Google to do your email, but the good news is Helm's responsive about that, and they got it working right, which is good.
Yeah, it's been a good service. It was easy to set it up, and there were only these few small issues, but otherwise it's working fine.
Yeah, and I'm going to go home and do it because I didn't do it. I just said, well, I'm going to keep it on Google because I have a lot of shared calendars and stuff, and I didn't want to mess with all of that. But it would be nice to have my calendar address book in one location on the Helm server for privacy, if nothing else. So I'm gonna look at how to do that, and if I could figure out a good system that doesn't involve using the Mac, I will post it, or I'll talk about it next week. Well, I'm glad you got one. I'm glad your experience has been positive with it. And I did the same thing. I got a .email account as well because I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Plus, the .coms are all used up. I can't get Laporte.com.
Well, I could get my last name .email. I thought that was a good choice.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool. So
yeah, exactly. That's
what it's for.
Yeah, and now it can be Neil at your last name .email, and it could be other people can use it and stuff like that. And I've really loved using the Helm for when I sign up for stuff because I use the name of the company at my email address, and that really is a good way to kind of keep track of all that stuff. It seems to me you should be able to just, how could you force the Helm to synchronize with your iPad? It should just synchronize so that everything that's on the iPad is on the Helm.
Right. I mean, if I had a PC or a laptop, I could download the file, email it myself, put it into the calendar app on the Mac, for example. Then it would push out automatically to the Helm, problem solved. But then I've got to spend a couple hundred.
What happens if on the iPad you double-click that file, that ICS file? You email the ICS file to yourself and you double-click it. What happens?
It just opens up like a list. I actually did that. It's actually not on the phone. I have it on the phone. Actually, it's the same thing.
And it doesn't open up in the calendar.
It opens up the list, but you can't do anything with the file.
Yeah, it should open in the calendar. Yeah, I don't know why Apple's done it that way. That's incorrect, really. An ICS file should open in the calendar.
Yeah, I looked at their website, and it actually says you cannot. It actually simply says you cannot do this except from a computer.
Oops. What happens if you get an ICS invite in your email? Doesn't that?
You can put into your calendar. Yeah, those work, but you can't download like the calendar. I mean, the whole calendar. I could bring invites in, to your point, the other email to me. But
that's an ICS file. I don't. Yeah.
Weird.
Okay, I'll look at it, Neil, and see if I can figure it out. Try it in Safari. Try it with iCloud and Safari. They might be able to do. iCloud, the site, has a calendar, and it might have an import function.
Sounds good. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate your time.
All right. Take care.
Good talk.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. Yeah, I think the return of Chris Marquardt, if I'm not mistaken, at the bottom of the hour. That's what I've been told. That's what I have on a Post-it note right here. We'll find out in about 25 minutes. I can't wait to talk to Chris. I miss him. We'll also talk about home theater, smartphones, smart watches, anything like that. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number, 888-827-5536. Yes, it's confirmed. I see Chris Marquardt in the chat room. He's got a big, long beard. 8888 Ask Leo. Back to the phones we go. Line 3 is John in Los Angeles. Hello, John.
Hi, so I'm a coder, and I have a T480S with the 24 gigs of RAM upgrade. The problem is I want to do Unity, and I'm wondering if I need a computer that has a GPU or maybe a better screen.
Ah, interesting. I love that's a Lenovo, that T series. Is that
yes.
Yeah, love those. Great coding computers because they have a really good keyboard. It doesn't have a graphic processor. What Unity says is the system requirements are very limited. As long as you can support DirectX 10, which you can. I presume you've got Windows 10 on there. You've got the minimum required. So that means things will compile, but they may be slow. You may have a terrible frame rate.
But do I need like a GPU to get a better, so I can see it to give a better UX experience to my? You might. You're
writing a game. What are you writing?
I'm writing a language learning game, so it's basic cool. Unity.
I would start. I mean, the Unity folks say it really depends on how complex your project is. Okay. And how much RAM do you have?
I upgraded, so it comes with 8 on board, and I got a 16 gig stick.
Yeah, you're pretty good.
Okay.
So what it says for running games is a little different for development. For running,
gotcha.
Yeah, as long as you have a DirectX 10 with shader model 4.0, you're all right. And so really will just be the frame rate. And, if the frame rate's 10 frames a second instead of 50, you're not going to die. It'll be usable. And then you'll be mightily pleased when somebody runs it on a machine with a dedicated graphics card. It's not that you can't do it. It's just it will be chiefly the frame rate and the compiling time and things like that. But I think that's a pretty nice computer. I wouldn't worry. What's the processor in there?
It's the 8th gen i7.
Oh yeah, you're great.
Okay.
I think you're right. The GPU would be a lot better for models, and it'd be a little faster. But that's just a frame rate. And gotcha. By the way, with Unity, you can turn the settings down as any gamer can, and get that frame rate up for lower quality. And then when you want to see the full quality, well, you're going to have a slower frame rate. It's just like gaming. At that point, development, you've got everything you need for development.
All right.
That's cool. So much, what's the program going to be? Tell me a little more about it.
It's just basic language learning software.
What language?
I'm a hyper polyglot, so I am putting languages that I know.
Oh, fun!
Things into the games.
I don't know if I'd call myself a hyper polyglot because that implies that I can fluidly use all the languages. But I definitely collect computer languages. I love them, and I love to learn the basics in all of them because each of them has something to teach you. So I think that sounds like a great idea, and it'll be for younger people. You think, or it's
going to be for younger people or people that are over the threshold of when you learn a language, you you have the key frame rate of up to 12. So it's going to be for people that are much older than the
Nice.
easy acquisition languages that aren't hyperpolyglots, and people that are within the range to actually learn languages.
I assumed you're talking computer languages. Are you talking computer languages or human languages?
Human languages.
Oh.
I'm going to use it to teach human languages.
Oh, I can.
You can put houses.
This is what a
windows.
geek I am. I thought you were talking C and Python and Perl. No, you're talking about French, German, and that's really cool. I love that idea.
But since we're talking about languages, does C# have good enough AI?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Is
Oh,
Python
yeah.
the only? Okay.
C# a very good choice. Python's used more because a lot of the people who are working on this want something they can quickly prototype in, and it has lots of libraries that make it easier. But honestly, C# is probably a more powerful language. It'll certainly be a faster language. So if you're comfortable with C#, I see no reason not to use it. I'm sure all the libraries you'll need will be there.
All right. Thank you again,
Hey,
Leo.
have fun. Wow, that's a great idea. Unity, I should explain for people who are wondering what the heck we're talking about, is a very cool programming environment that's designed mostly to design games. And what's nice is it's cross-platform. So you can write something in Unity, a game in Unity, or something like our caller's writing in Unity with lots of graphics and characters and motion and physics and stuff, and have it run on Windows and on Mac and on mobile, and that's really neat. Actually, Unity is used in a lot more than just gaming. Filmmakers use it, architects use it. You can even use it for cars and transportation. So, car manufacturers might use Unity, for instance, to visualize the design before they actually commit it to steel. So it's a really neat framework, really great idea. Let's move on. Next call is, I press the button, Jeff in Wichita. Hello, Jeff. Sorry, didn't mean to jump you, Jeff. Sorry. Take a breath.
Here, Leo.
Jeff.
Leo.
Yes, sir.
Leo.
That's my name. He hung up on me. Oh, he couldn't hear me. He thought he could hear me, but he couldn't. Hi, Micah in Portland. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Micah, you're in Portland, Maine, not Portland, Oregon. I know who this is.
Yes, you do.
Hi, Micah. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I have a project going on that I actually think you will be excited about, and I'm hoping you can give me some ideas about.
All right. You have a lot of energy. You're always working on something. That's really cool.
Well, I try to work on something here and there, and plus, having spent 10 years in radio, when I call up on the radio, then I'm on the air. So, you got to offer that kind of energy on you. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
That's true. In fact, it's one of the reasons I love doing it, because sometimes I'll come in here kind of, and by the time I'm doing the show, I feel good.
Absolutely. It works great that way.
That's why I have Big Pee Wee, our musical director. That's his job. Make me feel good.
And boy, talk about energy, huh?
Isn't he great? Yeah. His energy
he's
powers
amazing.
me. Yeah. Nobody hears him on the radio, but if you ever listen to the podcast, he'll make an appearance from now and again. What can I do for you, Micah?
Well, the city that I live in here, and I'm not right in Portland, but I'm in one of the environs, and I'd rather not go into it because some situations may come up, but we're looking on putting in fiber citywide for the whole city.
Municipal fiber.
Municipal fiber. I attended a city council meeting the other night.
Hallelujah.
I spoke. Isn't that great? Spoke in favor of it. And, they're talking about putting together a feasibility study to begin with, but there are some city councilors that don't even understand exactly what it means. But I spent some time with them, and I explained, what fiber means and what the speed means and how it's different than having spectrum and only spectrum and the choices and the fact that we might even be able to make money on it. And
you will attract business. You will attract,
absolutely,
because it's a much more desirable venue for them. That's all good. I think it's good. The criticism, of course, comes from companies that are commercial, competing with you, like Verizon and Comcast, who say, well, wait a minute, city government should not be in the same business we are. That's fine. A little competition isn't going to hurt you, kids. If you think the city government's doing a good job, then you just do a better job, and that's called the American way. I see no reason not to have competition.
And with 5G coming, it gives us the opportunity to even rent out the fiber to some of those companies that may not have their own fiber installed.
Right.
So we might be able to make money on it.
Yeah. I think in the long term, this may be the solution to what's going on in this country. We have a massive internet crisis, and because people aren't, especially in rural areas, just aren't getting it. And so I think this is a great idea. So what can I do to help? Because I really support this.
Well, I'm wondering what kind of things we should be looking at. What are some of the downfalls? What are some of the pros in terms of that feasibility study? What do you think we should be putting together, and what can you offer to help? I mean, what suggestions might you have?
Well, the good news is you're walking a path that's well trodden, and there are groups that are there to support you. Commercial, but mostly non-commercial groups. In fact, my friend Tim Posar, who's a longtime radio engineer, is very active in helping communities go wireless. So I don't off the top of my head know the name. I've forgotten. But if you Google municipal Wi-Fi and you look for nonprofits that are there to support municipal Wi-Fi, you'll find a number of them. And the good news is they can help you. They can show you other people's grant proposals, the kinds of issues that will come up, the things you will have to know ahead of time. That is something that is going to be very easily researched. This is a great thing to do, and there are a lot of people doing it. In our little town, we partnered with a commercial entity because that made sense commercially, for the city, which, like all cities, is broke. But so that
we're looking at that too. We
Yeah.
have a commercial entity that already has some fiber going through.
Perfect.
We've contracted with them to put in more. They attended the city council meeting and are very interested in working with us on a public-private partnership.
Yeah. So I think there's good information, good resources online. I just don't off the top of my head remember the name. If I can find it, I'll do some research during the break, and if I can find it, I'll get it to you, Micah. I think this is a great project. It is the solution, honestly, for a lot of cities, especially more rural areas where they're not getting supported by commercial entities because they can't make enough money. And so the city needs to move in and do it. But I think every city should do this. And there's some very famous success stories out there. In fact, there's more than 100 municipalities that have Wi-Fi now, municipal Wi-Fi. And I think that's great. I think we want to see more. I really do. So keep up the good work, Micah. This is exactly the right thing to do. And if these big companies don't like the competition, well, tough. Competition is good. Chattanooga is very famous because their power company started providing very high-speed internet, fiber optic networks to everybody. It's going to make them a ton of money in Chattanooga. That'd be one to research, is the success of Chattanooga's public Wi-Fi project. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt, the photo guy's coming up. I got time for more calls, too. And now I have some research projects, so I'm going to go to work while you listen to these messages from our fine sponsors. The podcast today brought to you by this. What do you think that? Some people are saying that's an Amazon Echo. No, it's prettier than that, isn't it? It's the smokestack for a nuclear reactor. No, it's a little small for that. It's my Simply Safe hub. I am such a huge fan of Simply Safe and the Simply Safe philosophy. Interesting studies. Security systems work. Oh no! They deter burglars. Still, there's a burglary every 8 seconds in America, but the point is, if you have a system and maybe a yard sign that says you have a system, any burglar that sees that's going to go, well, let's look at the neighbor's house. So, job one, get a security system. But here's the other thing. A lot of these security systems and the security system companies really are expensive. They make you spend a lot more money than you need. Simply Safe is brilliant. It was created by a couple of really smart engineers who wanted to make a system, and here's the criteria they're looking for. Affordable, yes. Easy to install, self-install. And if you move, easy to move with you, right? So it's not like screwed into the wall. They were looking for something that could have 24-hour monitoring. That's really important, but without a long contract and a lot of expense. They founded Simply Safe, and Simply Safe is now, I believe, the #1 home security system in the country. It is awesome. Here's a Simply Safe kit with all the features you need, including, this is very important, this sign, because a burglar sees that and they go, oh, I'll be moving along right now. I guess you could just buy the sign, but it really is nice to have the system. They've got glass break, they've got motion detectors, they even got things like water detectors in case your water heater fails. I've had that happen. And they have the best. This hub is so awesome. This is the hub. It also, of course, you have a keypad. Fear has no place at home. You've got to feel comfortable. And think about your family, especially if, you leave home and you leave your kids home, and you want to make sure they feel safe. Simply Safe sensors protect every point of access to your home. Doors, windows, garage. If a burglar even tries to break in, you're going to hear a ear-shattering siren. But that's not the only thing. The police will be on the way, too. And that's really important. And their monitoring 24/7, no contract, is just $14.99 a month. You compare that to any of the other companies, they'll charge you triple and more. $14.99 with no long-term contract. 3 million people use Simply Safe. That should tell you something. It is the most popular, and rightly so. It is a great security system. So when my family and friends and my kids want a security system, it's the one I tell them about. Maybe even install it for them because I love my children. SimplySafe.com/twit. It's the only home security system I recommend. It's the only one I trust. SimplySafe.com/twit. Go today. You'll get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk at all. Reduce the risk. Make yourself safe at home. SimplySafe.com/twit for the home security Leo uses. And a lot of other people. 3 million. SimplySafe.com/twit. We thank him so much for making the Tech Guy podcast possible. I'm going to pack this all up and bring it home. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Thanks to Mike B in our chat room, muninetworks.org. He's found a nice resource for people who want to set up municipal networks. This might be the one I was thinking of, actually. Thank you, Mike B. And they have a lot of information there on, the broadband infrastructure that you need. Their tagline there is discover how communities are investing, I love this, in their own internet infrastructure to promote economic prosperity and improve the quality of life. Right? Right. It's a project from the Institute of Local Self-Reliance. I love that idea. I just love that idea. You know who doesn't love that idea? The big internet service providers who don't want any competition of any kind. They have, in many cases, monopolies. They certainly have a duopoly, and something like 86% of the country only has a choice of the phone company or the cable company for their internet service. Wireless is going to change that a little bit. 5G is going to change that a little bit. But what's happened, unfortunately, I think it started in Philadelphia. Philadelphia had a big project to go to install municipal internet access, wireless. And Comcast is headquartered in Philadelphia. They freaked out. They went to the state legislature, got it banned. And in fact, many states ban it. That's not in our interest. Whose interest would that be in? So I think it's a good thing to hear people like Micah working on it. And there will be hurdles. They're not going to make it easy. A lot of times these companies would prefer to fight than compete. Jeff in Wichita, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jeff.
How you doing, Leo?
Got your back. What's up?
Thanks for taking my call. I was up to my arms in dishes.
Good. Your wife thanks you. That's good.
Well, the doggy thanks me.
Oh, the doggy thanks you too.
We run. It's just me and the dog.
Oh yeah. Well, dogs like clean dishes too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, dogs are people too. Don't forget.
I know exactly. So,
what can I do for you, Jeff?
Well, okay. So it's like I've been a long time listener. I've watched you back since in the early '90s or sort of mid late.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so. And then I bought some stuff like Tracker and other things, so from your sponsors, and so you put on some really good programming and
Thank
stuff.
you.
And I always try to point people towar's your site because
I appreciate it.
Like that's where this information is really good to get. But going on to what you bring up, on this week at Google, you were talking about and I know sometimes you have mixed feelings about I've got it right here. The extension for wiping out your unblock Origin.
Oh, you block
You block
Origin. Yeah, it's an ad
Right,
blocker.
right.
I do have mixed feelings about ad blockers because
I know you do. I know you do. I know. But here-
I am ad supported. But on the other hand, I think there's a compelling argument to use ad blockers on websites for security alone, let alone bandwidth.
Here's the other reason. Okay, I run everything. I don't run anything through Cox. I run everything through T-Mobile. Well, last month I run 213 gig.
Wow. Yeah, and you're running up against some pretty high prices. And you're right. Most websites, about 3/4 of the download is ads, not content.
That's right.
What I do like with anytime you block ads, and sites are starting to do this, is sites will say, well, if you want to support us, you can unblock us specifically,
Right, and I do that.
or send them money. And yeah, I think that's remembering that you're consuming the content without paying for it. So
That's right.
But at the same time, there are sites where the content is so overwhelmingly, ridiculously fat and sassy that I don't want it, and I'll block it.
Case.
Yep.
So what happens is, I don't know if this is because I run a Chromebook, but when I go to YouTube and come through the standard website, even though I've got it whitelisted, it blocks everything around it.
Yeah.
All the pictures are blocked and everything's blocked.
Yeah.
The only way I can get to my YouTube and see everything is to do it through the incognito screen.
Yeah. So that probably does, I presume if you turn off uBlock Origin, you can do it. uBlock Origin, one of the reasons we like it, first of all, it's a free ad blocker. It's certainly the best ad blocker. It has no entanglements with any advertising, which some of the other ad blockers like AdBlock Plus do. uBlock Origin is written by a feisty guy who just hates advertising. But it also is highly configurable. That's the other reason I like it. And if you dig into the settings of uBlock Origin, you may be able to figure out. If you don't want to just unblock YouTube, take a look at the settings, and you may find that there are certain things it's blocking. In fact, my experience with uBlock Origin and YouTube is it works fine. So you may have turned up some things that are causing some problems. That would be my guess. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt next. Hello, Chris. Welcome back.
Hello, Leo.
Did you have you don't have a big beard. I thought you would.
Yeah, I shaved just for you. Just for you.
I thought you'd have a
I looked a
Leif
I looked
Erikson.
a bit more scruffy yesterday when I arrived.
Oh, okay. So how was New Zealand? Was it great?
Well, New Zealand was wonderful. And, everyone will tell you the same. New Zealand is just amazing. And finally understand why some people want to live there.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 weeks I was in Norway on a ship. And
yes.
I taught photography.
A freezing cold ship.
Nah, it wasn't that cold. Actually, half of the time it was above freezing, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh my God! How did you? You have to strip down. That's great.
It was a bit of a change from the warm summer in New Zealand to be in the Arctic winter. But hey, got to have some adventure.
Yeah, yeah. And Monica had a great time.
Well, she was only in New Zealand. And yes, she had a great time, and now she had other things to do while I left for the sea. We have an assignment review. I want to talk about... Oh my God,
I forgot about our assignment. It's been so long.
Yes, I want to talk about the... do you have an email for that?
Okay.
I want to talk about the photography in New Zealand and in the Arctic, but maybe we can do some of that next week.
Sure. I mean, or we could do the photo assignment next week. It's up to you.
People have been waiting so long. And Renee has asked if I would be back, and people are getting worried. So,
well, Flickr has improved since you've been gone, and I'm happy to be on Flickr these days now. They really have done a great job.
Yeah, I've been following everything. I've been pretty much online all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good. So
there is no being offline these days. Not even on a ship in Norway.
No, isn't that amazing? All right, I am looking for your email. I don't see it yet.
Hold on. I should hit the send button.
That would help.
It actually goes out, and then it goes out.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been on this internet thing for
computers. How do they work? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's funny. But my emails should go through to you pretty quickly. Yeah. They have in the past. So.
We're really glad to have you back. I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah. Well, there's a number we haven't heard in a while. It's time to welcome back from his journeys our photography guru, the great Chris Marquardt, discoverthetopfloor.com. Chris, welcome home. You've been gone, 2 months?
Yeah, and I've been missing this here. I've been missing the song. I've been missing everyone. So yeah, I'm back. I was in New Zealand for a while, and then I spent a few weeks on a ship in the Arctic in northern Norway to teach photography. And I arrived back yesterday and even shaved off my seaman's
So
beard.
you did have a big beard. I just was imagining it.
I was quite scruffy when I returned home.
Good. I'm glad.
When you work on a ship for a while, that just comes
happens
with the job.
It just happens.
Yeah.
So Chris is and has been for years our photo expert. He is a brilliant photographer in his own right, but he's also a photography teacher. He's got some great books. I've been reading your wide angle book, which is fantastic. There's a book about film, and he does workshops, including that Norway workshop at discoverthetopfloor.com. He also gives us assignments. And Chris, while the cat's away, the mouse will play. Do you have that in German?
Yes, we do that. While the cat's away, the mice dance on the table here. Yeah.
Oh, well. Why say anything in a few words when you can say it in many? Chris, we didn't really do a lot on your assignment. We just were lazy, but we have some pictures.
I wasn't here to remind everyone.
Yeah, it's my fault. I should have reminded people.
Well, it was the suit assignment, and let's see. I again made a choice of 3 photos here. Now, interestingly enough, there are two themes about the suit. One is in the photos. One is about actual suits that people wear, and the other is about playing cards. So I chose 3 playing card related ones.
Oh.
And the first one.
Oh, a little curveball.
A little curveball here. The first one is by R.J. Kessling, and it's a royal flush on a table. And it's interesting because he shot that at a pretty wide angle. So, I'm a wide angle guy. So let's look at that photo and find out how can you tell that this is a wide angle photo. Well, first of all, it stretches the depth. So the things that are not too far from the camera, they're close to the camera, are kind of big. And then things that are slightly further away from the camera already get very, very small. And it kind of, you have this depth feeling with the wide angle photos. And the second thing is, if you look at those frontmost 2 cards, the ones that are on the bottom of the picture, see how stretched out they are?
Yeah.
That is something that you get with wide angles.
Even though they're right next to the other cards, they're much, much bigger.
They're much, much bigger, but they're also really stretched out. Things that are at the edge of a wide angle photo are just to get stretched out the more wide angle you are, which is going to be important when you, for example, try to do portraiture with wide angles. So if you put someone's head at the edge of a frame of a wide angle, they will have a bit of an egghead in the photo. So that's one thing to how to tell that this is a wide angle photo. So second one I chose takes this curveball even along another line, and it's by Sam 44224. Pepper Symmetry Suit of Clubs is the title.
Oh.
And he took a picture of a sliced green pepper, which first I thought, what does that have to do with the assignment? But he explains in the description, sliced green pepper resembles the suit of clubs. Now, which it does, certainly does. The shape of the 3 lobes is there, and he also included what he shot it on. It's on a Pixel XL, so it doesn't really take an expensive camera to take pictures.
It's actually gorgeous. I like
it. It's very
green,
simple.
The white, the textures.
It's straight on. It's
you could eat it. You could just take a big bite out of that pepper. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. What is this? Is it a club? Is that the idea? It's a suit. It's a club.
A suit of clubs. Yeah. It looks
okay.
like the inner shape. So it's the curveball taking just another curve here. And then last but not least, Alan Guido took a photo again of a royal suit. So we have the 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace of spades there. And what I like about this picture, and this is not a wide angle, compared to that first one that is all stretched out, here you have nothing of that. No stretching out whatsoever. And that's, first of all, because it's a straight-on photo, but also because the focal length of that lens that uses an iPhone XS, which has a compared focal length of about 28 millimeters. So it's not as wide angle as the 14 millimeters that the first photo was shot at. But what I like on this photo is the light. Just have a look at the light on this, how it looks like it's on a wooden table and it's light shining through leaves and through some foliage on a tree, and that gives it this speckled appearance. And really, really like the light on that. It's still intense straight on light, probably sunlight. That you can see this at the edge where we have the really hard shadow of the cards that indicates a very small light source, and the sun in the sky is a small light source. But then you also have these diffuse speckles from the shades from the tree out there, which makes it nice to look at. Just pleasing to.
So even though we only got a dozen or so images, I think 3 very nice ones.
Yes.
And I like it that they weren't from fancy cameras, that they were, that just shows you it's not the camera, it's the photographer, right?
And we're going towards a big, where we're in the middle of a big change, and you see a lot of the fields of the bigger cameras being kind of taken over by smaller cameras, and I'm especially looking at smartphones. So we should definitely talk more about this, about where photography is going, and how the bigger cameras lose their importance when it comes to even professional.
I don't know if you saw, Apple has picked its this year's crop of shot with iPhone images, and much like these, they're gorgeous. The color, you couldn't fault them. And considering it's in your pocket, you have it with you all the time. And I'm very interested. The new Galaxy S10, which I'm going to get on Thursday, has 3 lenses, 3 different focal lengths, which is going to give you some of the flexibility that we've missed in camera phones. So I'm really excited about where this is going, I have to say.
Yeah, and there will be more changes. There are now phones on the horizon with like 9 lenses built in.
Yeah, Nokia has another Pure View with 7. That's crazy, 7 lenses.
So we'll see how crazy that is.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Why don't you give us a new assignment, and I'm going to make a pledge to you. I'm going to use my Galaxy S10, my brand new camera phone, to shoot whatever this is, whatever you tell me.
I'll hold you to it. So the new assignment actually comes from the community. Renee Silverman, our moderator on Flickr, has given the assignment to us, and I'm giving it to you now. And it's the picture should be taken from an ant's perspective.
Oh, man.
Photo.
Wish I'd heard that before I said I'll do it with a camera phone. That means I'm on my knees.
Well, that's a very unusual perspective, and it should be great.
All right. I like that. It'd be nice to be wide angle, but doesn't have to be wide angle, huh?
Doesn't have to be, no.
Yeah, the ant's perspective. Okay, so you have a month. Chris isn't going anywhere for a while, right?
I'll be here for a while, yes, for sure.
At least 4 weeks. So
I've been gone for long enough now.
He'll be back next week to talk more about photography, and you have 1 month. Here's what you do. You take a picture illustrating something from an ant's perspective, upload it to our Flickr group, the Tech Guy group. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will welcome you if you're not already a member, and add it to the group. You can do 1 a week, so you get up to 4 images you can pick. Let's get a bunch of images this time so we can do it next month with our review. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. I'll have to use a selfie stick to get down. I don't think I can get on my knees. Oh, awesome. That's great.
You can see it as training. It's all training.
Yeah, it's training. No, I love that idea. The unique perspective is so much fun.
Yeah. I think we should have more ideas come from the community.
Yeah, I agree.
We have 13,000 people in the Flickr group, so there should be plenty of ideas there. Maybe we can start a little Flickr discussion on the Tech Guy group and just collect ideas.
I'll participate if you do that. That's good.
Yeah. And I know Renee's listening, so maybe that's something that you can start.
Excellent.
That will be awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. Welcome home. We missed you so much. So glad you're here.
I missed you. I missed everyone. So I'll be here for at least a month and a half, probably 2.
Good.
So
good.
She'll be around for a while.
All right.
All right. Thanks for having me back.
Take care.
Talk to you in a week.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. And Leanne from Lake Elsinore has been hanging on for ages. Leanne, you're very patient. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Leo.
Hey. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. What can I do for you?
So I have a 2010 MacBook Pro, and it hasn't been working for a while, and if it does work, it's very slow.
Yes.
So I took it to a computer shop, and I updated it because I called Apple, and they put High Sierra on it.
Okay. That's probably the most recent operating system you can put on it.
Yes, because I think Mojave won't go on it.
But that's very recent. That's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they say to downgrade it to Sierra.
Why? The shop did?
Yes.
And why did they not like High Sierra?
Because they said probably some of like the gadgets on the MacBook will probably cope better with Sierra.
Yeah, no. High Sierra, in fact, probably is a little faster than Sierra. So the reason they called it High Sierra is because they took Sierra and they polished it up and made it better. This was occasionally Apple will do this where they don't do a big release. They do a minor bug fix speed up release. So unless the guy at the shop knows something I don't know, that doesn't make any sense at all. If you don't want to buy a new computer, there are a couple of things you can do to the old computer to improve it. The number one thing to do is replace the hard drive. Okay. And you can do that yourself, which I would recommend because I'm not sure this guy at the shop's all that swift. Okay. Go to macsales.com. Macsales.com. That's Otherworld Computing. They specialize in aftermarket Mac accessories, including hard drives. Okay. And what I want you to put in is a solid state drive, an SSD. You can enter in you'll set up on the site, you'll say, this is what I have, what model and everything. And they'll say what works. There's a video on the site that shows you what you'll need to do. Make sure you're comfortable with that. For an older Mac like that, it really is pretty easy to do. Okay, because yesterday on Amazon, I ordered a SanDisk. I think it was like a 480. Good. SSD, I think. Okay. Was that your idea or the guy at the shop suggest that? He suggested that. Yeah. And he's going to put it in for you? Yes. Good. That's fine. That's fine. And so you think that'll help? Make a huge difference, much more than downgrading the operating system. Okay, because I think they're still going to downgrade the operating system. Nah, I don't understand why they think that's a good idea, but okay. You could say, hey, I don't know, I asked the tech guy, and he said the High Sierra was faster than Sierra. Okay. Should I just go with that and just keep the laptop I have, or? Well, I would. I mean, you already spent the money, right? I guess you could get your money back. How much was the hard drive? It was $64.64. And how much is the labor? I have no idea. $150, let's say. And then they're going to put more RAM in it. Good. That'll make a difference, too. Now, you know what? I think that's going to be perfectly fine. Okay. Because, like, when I'm writing papers for school, it can take an hour to 2 hours just for Word or just some apps to open. So that is not because it's an old laptop. That's because your hard drive is messed up. Okay. And that'll never happen. Ever happen on a computer. That computer is not that old. I mean, it is old. It's 8 years old, but 10. 10. Okay, 10 years old. And it would be wonderful if you had $1,500 to spend on a new computer. That'd be wonderful. But honestly, wait till you get that hard drive and more RAM in, and you'll notice night and day difference. Because really, what I think is going on when you see that kind of slowdown, that is really because the hard drive in that Mac is dying and it can't be read easily. So the Mac struggles to load in the Word documents and the Word file, and that's what's taking so long. The processor is fast enough to load it in seconds. It's the hard drive that's the problem. So you're fixing that. And an SSD by itself, even if your hard drive were functioning fully, is 2 or 3 times faster, and you don't have a functioning hard drive right now.
Okay.
Oh, I think you did the right thing. And I'll take it back. The guy at the shop had the right recommendation. Let him put High Sierra on it. See if that makes a difference. I mean, Sierra. The reason I want High Sierra is you always want the latest version of the operating system for security purposes. And
yeah, and then Apple told me that because it's so old, I won't be able to get any more High Sierra updates.
Right, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
But that's all right. High Sierra is pretty recent.
Yeah, okay.
And you know what'll happen is
the next update.
You'll get a High Sierra update, and you can go ahead and do it. You can let it happen because that guy's wrong. It's not slower; it's faster. The clean install will be fantastic. Of course, he's going to back up all your data, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm supposed to do that.
Yeah, you better do that. Get Super Duper. It's going to take a long time because your hard drive's failing. But get Super Duper in an external drive or a USB and copy everything over so you have it.
Okay, so I just click copy and paste to the...
No, get Super Duper. It's a free program from Shirt Pocket Software. It'll do it for you.
Oh, okay.
And you'll need to get a drive that's as big as your... You need to do this anyway for backup purposes. Go to Best Buy or somewhere and get a drive that's bigger than your internal drive or the drive you got. How big is the drive you got? 512?
I don't really know.
Okay. At that price, it's probably 128. So get something as big as that new drive. And then with Super Duper, you can back up the old drive entirely to this external drive. Don't blast it onto the new drive, though. You're just going to pick files and copy them.
Yeah.
But you'll have a backup.
Duper, like an online website?
Nope, it's software. It's free. You can download it, shirtpocketsoftware.com. They have a paid version, which you may want to buy. It's like $25. It's not expensive. But the free version will do what you need to do today, which is back up everything. In fact, it's vital that you do that sooner than later because it's my opinion your hard drive is dying.
Okay. Okay. So that's what I should do.
Yep. And then I think, Leanne, call me back after it's done.
Okay.
I think you'll see that was a sound investment.
Okay.
Much cheaper than buying a new Mac.
Okay. Because Apple told me, I called Apple the other day, and they told me the next update, my laptop would just shut down completely.
Why would they say something like that? That's what? No. Apple doesn't make laptops stop working.
Okay.
They said the next time we update your computer, it's going to stop entirely?
Yeah.
Where'd they get that person? I never heard of such a thing. Can you imagine the lawsuits? Lots of people have 10-year-old computers. All of a sudden, they get an update from Apple and it stops working? No. No. You were talking to Apple Computer? Apple Inc.?
Yes.
Apple in Cupertino, and they said that?
Yes.
Nitwits. They're wrong.
Okay.
Nitwits, don't worry about it. You're going to be very happy with that computer.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the call, Leanne. Call me back when you get it if you have any problems. But I feel fairly confident that you got some pretty good... Isn't this terrible, the tech support that's out there? Boy, is it terrible. Boy, is it terrible. And that's from Apple. Am I wrong? Has anybody ever heard of, I have a 10-year-old Mac, and I updated it, and Apple made it stop work? What? Maybe she misunderstood. There's no way. Can you imagine what the hue and cry if Microsoft or Apple you download an update that said, "Oh, your computer's too old. We're deactivating it." What? What morons? What morons? If they really said that, there's just no excuse. That's got to be... she must have misunderstood. Maybe they were saying your 32-bit applications won't work anymore, which is true. But her computer's not eligible for the next update. Whatever comes after Mojave, it's not eligible for it. So under no circumstances would an update intentionally stop a computer from working. That's nuts. I think that she must have misunderstood. Maybe they were saying, your hard drive's about to die, because it is. Anytime with a computer it's going to take more than an hour to start a program, that doesn't mean your computer's too old and slow. That means your hard drive's dying. That's all that means. Holy camole. Oh, hello. Well, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yeah, time to talk computers. The internet. Computers sound so old-fashioned, doesn't it? Let's talk about computers. We could talk about home theater, sure. Digital photography, you bet. We could talk about smartphones. That's really the computer of this decade, yeah. Smart watches, wearables, augmented reality, anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still call. Just use Skype out or something like that. It'll be free. And so, we want everybody. We got listeners all over the world thanks to the internet. We want everybody to be able to call in. 8888 Ask Leo. And then we have a website, too, which is available for free. No sign-up. You just go there and just open. You wander in. Good search engine there, too, so you can find stuff from previous shows. Every show is there. Audio and video from previous shows, plus text with questions and answers, and even a comment area. Every question has an answer and an area where you can add your response. Leo's wrong. Leo's full of it. Or Leo's right. Or I got a better way. All of that. We welcome it. TechGuyLabs.com. Let's get back to... I'm still in shock a little bit that our last caller said Apple told her that the next update her Mac would stop working. I think... After consultation with the tech experts in our chat room, I think it's impossible that Apple would say that. It's certainly not the case. But what is going to happen with the version after Mojave, the next version of Mac OS, is older applications, 32-bit applications, will stop working. But, most of the applications used today have been updated, so... Office is up to date. Browsers are all up to date. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And anyway, her 2010 MacBook can't be updated past High Sierra, so it's not going to be an issue for her. Maybe the phone rep said kind of in an offhand way, well, it's fine. Stay with High Sierra because the next edition of Mac OS, all your programs will stop working. Maybe he said that. And that would lead to the misunderstanding. But no, your computer's going to continue to work just fine under High Sierra. Truthfully, the last 10 years haven't seen massive upgrades in speed and capability when it comes to Intel processors. Any Macintosh from the last 5 years is roughly as fast as any modern Macintosh. And a 10-year-old Macintosh, yeah, it's a little bit slower, but not unusably slow by any means. You should be fine. And I think it's worth putting, in fact, I recommend this as an upgrade for many older computers. Put a solid-state hard drive in there to replace that old spinning drive. Makes a big difference. And if you're buying a new computer, honestly, buy a solid-state drive in that thing. There's no reason not to. It's not going to wear out faster. It's going to be much faster for boot times, for loading programs. It's going to be so much faster, your computer will feel like it got a new brain. I think that's maybe the message of all of this, is that while we focus on things like, oh, it's only a dual-core 1.7 gigahertz chip, you'll hear that kind of silly talk. We focus on the processor speed. That's really only a small portion of the overall speed of the computer. It's the processor speed because when it's doing calculations, but it could be the graphics card speed when it's displaying those calculations on the screen. More often, it's the speed of your hard drive because you've got to load stuff in all the time. You're always accessing the hard drive, and when you're writing files, you're writing to the hard drive. So the speed of the hard drive is, I think, a big, big component in the overall speed of the system. How much memory you have also, because if you have a small amount of memory, it can compound the problem with a small hard drive or a slow hard drive, because you have to use the hard drive for added memory. RAM, so let's make clear that when I'm talking about memory, I'm talking about RAM, the solid state memory that is temporary. If you turn the computer off, it empties out. Versus storage, which is your hard drive. That's permanent. Even if you turn off the computer, whatever's on the hard drive is still there. In order for a processor to work in a computer, it loads programs and data from the permanent hard drive storage, which is relatively speaking very slow, into RAM, into memory, and it operates it on a memory. So, and that memory is very fast, and so that's why it does that. It's a kind of intermediary place you store the stuff you're working on right now, and it's really fast, but you don't have as much of it. If you have a Mac with 2 gigs of RAM, for instance, you'd be hard-pressed really to use modern programs. 4 gigs, absolutely fine. 8 gigs, the best. Many of us buy more, 16 gigabytes of RAM or more. And if you're using really large files, or you like to have lots of programs running at the same time, or you like to have 100 tabs open at one time in your browser, or you're using a virtual machine software to run Windows in there too. If there are reasons you might want even more memory. But for most programs, 4 gigabytes is the minimum, 8 is the sweet spot. And so that might be worth upgrading to. But a little more RAM, a little bit faster hard drive, that 10-year-old MacBook should probably be just fine. Those things are what really matter. Line 4 is Mark in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hello, Mark. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Good to talk to you again.
Thanks for calling again.
Oh, my pleasure. Hey, Leo. I would like to know how I can take my music around with high quality without having to take a little container of CDs with me, like in the car.
Do you have a smartphone or something like that?
I do, but I don't want the music to be compressed.
Well, you don't. It depends on the smartphone, but many smartphones will play uncompressed music. So when we get into the quality of music, it's a little bit of a complicated conversation and sometimes a confusing one. If we go back to analog recording, a vinyl album or a reel-to-reel tape recorder, those are obviously uncompressed, and really in the case of a record, they're trying to duplicate the movements in the air pressure changes that you would actually hear if you were in the room. And so that's why that needle in the groove is actually vibrating to the vibrations in the groove and then communicates it to speakers and actually tries to move the air in the room the same way it was moved when that recording was made. But anything digital has to work differently. And the way digital technology works is we sample the sound. So the record is, if you think of a waveform, think of a kind of a sine wave or a ocean wave. That's what the record sound looks like. In order to get that onto a hard drive or a digital device of any kind, we have to slice it into thin slices and measure the size of the slice. That's called sampling. And there's
the record is infinite.
It's infinite bit rate. That's right. But the computer can't handle that. It needs ones and zeros. So we sample it. And there's two numbers that are important for sampling. And you'll forgive me if I'm telling you something you already know, Mark. I just want everybody to have the same starting point in this conversation. So the number one is how often you sample it. That's the sample rate. And a CD is sampled at 44,100 times a second, or 44.1 K. That's a CD sample rate. That's a lot. And it makes sense. The more the samples, the finer the samples, the more accurately it will be represented. Turns out, after a lot of experimentation, people came up with that number as a pretty good number, 44.1. And then the other number is, well, how big should the number be that we represent the size of that sample? The slice of a wave looks like just a stick. How accurately should we measure that stick? And when music is recorded, it's often recorded at, say, 24 bits, which is 4 million choices. But your CD is 16 bits. So it's 16 bits of resolution, 65,000 possibilities, 44,100 times a second. So for shorthand, we'll say 1644.1. You can buy online higher quality samples. A faster rate, typically you can get 92 kilohertz or more, and a higher resolution measurement, a 24-bit. So often when records are recorded, you know, you get a musician in the studio, and nowadays they do digital recording. This doesn't apply to analog recording, but when they digitally record, they'll record 24 bits, 92,000 samples per second. You could buy it like that. And there are even devices, including some phones, that'll play it back like that. That would be even better than your CDs. But then there's the other direction. This is what you're talking about. It takes a lot of space. So, in order to, in the early days, to make CDs and music more easily delivered over the internet and more easily stored, we compressed it. And that's where MP3 compression and AAC compression, the two best known forms of compression, come from. They can be set to compress more or less. The theory behind them, the sophisticated acoustic theory behind them, that kind of says, well, we can compress it by 11 times. That's pretty typical. 1/11 the size, and you won't be able to hear the difference. Yeah, that depends. If you're trained, you can hear the difference. If you know what to look for, you can hear the difference. So you don't want MP3s. You don't want AACs. The AAC is the format iTunes uses. You want the CD quality.
Certainly, because when I get in my car, if I have a song on my phone and I play it, and then I put the CD with the same song in, I can hear the difference.
If you can hear the difference, then you should go for uncompressed music. And there are, in fact, even iTunes will do this, ways to take that CD and instead of compressing it, store it at 1641.
I'm looking for a device that I can.
Well, you first have to understand it's now going to be in a new format. There's two formats. There's FLAC, which is an open source lossless. We're going to call this lossless compression, and there's Apple lossless. There are other forms, but those are the two most common. So if you stuck your CD in your CD reader on your Mac and you used iTunes to convert it, you could choose MP3, you could choose AAC, but you could also choose Apple lossless. On other converters, you could choose FLAC. Those are exactly the same quality as the CD. So you need a device that will play back FLAC or Apple lossless. Here's the good news. What kind of phone do you have?
I have a Pixel XL.
Yes, I'm sure Google's Pixel XL will play those both back, but you need to figure that out. If it will, then you need software that understands FLAC or Apple lossless and can play it back. Remember, these files are going to be about 10 times bigger than an MP3, but they're going to be full spectrum audio.
And what about if I play it out of my phone through the headphone jack to my auxiliary port in the car? Is that going to?
Well, now we add another part of this equation, all very important, and that's your DAC, which is your digital to analog converter. So they're bits, right? But to come out of the speaker, it's got to be analog. We don't have this problem with a record because it's analog to analog. But digital to analog, we need a DAC. And there are varying qualities of digital to analog converters. The audio files, the golden ear types, have favorite DACs. Typically, the DACs in smartphones aren't great. Apple uses pretty good DACs. I would bet the Pixel has pretty good DACs. You're going to have to do some research on that. If you're not happy with the quality, there are devices you can go out, audiophile devices you can go out and get that have better quality DACs and will support those lossless formats. The ones I like the best are from a company called FiiO, F-I-I-O. They look like the old iPods. They're old MP3 type players, but they have better DACs. That's one thing you want, and they support the lossless formats you might want to use.
And they have solid-state storage, right?
And they have solid-state storage. They're just like an iPod. You remember the iPods? Wasn't that long ago. So there are a variety of FiiOs. They can cost $100. They can cost $1,000. You get to choose based on the quality of the DAC and so forth. I've used FiiOs for a long time. I don't really hear a big difference. But by the way, this also depends on if you're using really good headphones, whatever the analog reproduction technique is. Your speakers in your car. Remember, if you're in a car, your car's noisy, so any quality you've got might be overrun by the noise in the road and so forth. So all of this comes into play. But if you want to play back lossless quality, the same qualities on your CDs, or better, by the way, you can go out and download high-resolution audio. You can play it back on a FiiO, If you get FiO makes headphones, or you can go get really good headphones. Those will sound as good as it can sound. Or you play it back through a good car stereo system. That'll be as good as it can sound.
Now, do the FiO devices, do they have their own conversion software to take it from the CD to that platform?
No, you don't need that though. On Windows, there are a lot of. You need a CD ripping app, and you need one that'll let you set it for FLAC or Apple lossless. And there are a lot of those. iTunes is one, but there are many that'll do that. FiO, you can get a FiO M7, which has got a nice big screen on it, $200. And you could put SD cards in it too, which means it can even be more capacity.
It has an interface that you can make playlists. And
yeah, it's quite pretty. But you do want to connect it to a computer and rip the CD and then make the playlist on the computer too. It'll work with iTunes. Right. It has micro SD expansion up to 512 gigabytes. So that's pretty good. That's your whole collection probably.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of music.
I like the F7, the FiO rather. The M7 is very good. That's $200.
I've never heard of that. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I'm sorry I had to explain all the details, but it's important to understand all of these factors that contribute to making good sound. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. More calls coming up right after this. I don't know did I answer your full questions. I had to take a break there, but I think that we managed to sneak that long discussion into the time.
No, that was perfect. It brought up a lot of different points, and I think everybody should understand, what happens when you convert music like that.
Right.
Try to go from one spot to another.
Well, especially if you can hear it. Sad to say, most people are using MP3s or highly compressed AACs on an iPhone using the bundled Apple earbuds, which are terrible.
Yeah.
And so they don't notice. But if you care about it and you want to, listen on good headphones, or you have a good car stereo, or better yet, a good home stereo, it makes a difference.
Well, I'm the same age as you, and I grew up, going to bed, lying on my bed with my turntable.
Exactly. Looking at the album liner art. Wearing those big Pro 448 COS headphones. I remember those days.
And it just doesn't sound that good anymore.
No.
Any platform I've found.
This is, it's an interesting conversation I've had with a lot of artists, musicians, because I think people say, well, technically there's no difference. Technically we can, the Nyquist theorem, we can demonstrate there's no difference. But then others say, especially artists, well, when I'm making the music, there's an emotional content that somehow has disappeared in the digital conversion. There's something there that maybe you can't quantify. But yeah, when we listened to music in the old days, maybe our ears were better, maybe the equipment was better, maybe both.
Yeah.
There was an emotional connection you had. And I think we're trying to get that back. I know when I listen on really good headphones to well-recorded music, it is better.
Yes, exactly. And that's my dilemma right now is when I get a CD from an artist I really like, I listen to the CD. And then for convenience, I move it to another platform like the phone or whatever to listen to it, and it just doesn't sound the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the compression, and that certainly sucks a lot of the life out of music. And that's compression, data compression, as opposed to audio compression. That's another this is a rabbit hole you could spend a lot of time going down. Modern music is often mixed in the studio, highly compressed, which means there's a narrower dynamic range, a narrower difference between the quiet and the loud. It's kind of analogous to the high dynamic range of video. If you compress everything, it sounds better on the radio. It's punchier, sounds better in cheap headphones. But it loses a lot of the musicality. I was able to download Band on the Run, the ancient Paul McCartney album. There are two versions out there. One is audio compressed, one isn't. And it's almost different albums. Same exact tracks, almost different albums. It's a big difference. It's really interesting.
I've been listening to a lot of acoustic music lately, and it really shows up in that.
That's where you hear it, yeah, because they don't compress the acoustic music, yeah. Yeah, I love acoustic. The other thing, and I know you want to go, but remember that digitally recorded music is different than analog recordings. If they're recorded on tape, and then converted, you're losing. You're not going to get 24/6. You're not going to get. You're barely going to get 1644, let alone 2492. So
what's the standard in most studios these days? Are they recording to digital direct, or are they still going to?
Yeah, almost all of them are recorded digitally now. But anything before the 80s is analog. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I love that. See, those guys recorded in a studio with tape recorders. Led Zeppelin recorded in tape recorders, right? And there's a lot of audiophiles who will go out and buy records. I've done it. In super high resolution, 24-bit, 92 kilohertz sampled of stuff like that, wasting your money. There's no data at that higher level because it was recorded on analog tapes and then digitized. You'd be hard-pressed to get anywhere near even CD quality out of those analog tapes. There's some interesting techniques people are using to kind of restore analog tapes there to get better sound out of them, but it's boy, you can get me to talk for hours on this whole issue. Most people just content I'm gonna just play it back in my headphones that came with the phone. Johnny Jet, he was traveling yesterday, but he's home now. We're going to talk to our traveling guy right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And then you'll get the golden-eared guys that come on and say, well, none of it sounds good with these modern decks. You need tubes. Tubes, I tell you, Johnny, tubes. Hey, JJ.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Do you hear my wife is pregnant?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. That's such good news.
Yes, she just entered her second trimester.
Yeah, you don't tell anybody in the first trimester. I know that's the rule.
It was tough to keep the secret.
I bet it was.
Very difficult.
Oh, yay.
Yes.
Chumley in the chat room said, again? How did that happen?
I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome, Johnny. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's really great.
Hope it goes smooth.
Are you hoping for a girl this time?
It'd be nice to have one of each.
Wouldn't it? I got one of each. It doesn't, you know what? Honestly, it does not matter at all.
It doesn't, but.
Not at all.
My son's a wild man, so two wild men running around. Wild men running around.
It is nice to have a boy and a girl. There are issues with each. The girls are easier at first, then they become
That's
teenagers.
What I heard. That's what I heard.
The boys get easier as time goes by.
Yeah, exactly what I heard from everybody.
And that's a stereotype, but it's pretty true.
Is it okay? Good.
All right.
That's good to know.
I got a invite, and I hated turning it down from a cruise conference that wanted me to speak in April.
Oh, it's Sea Trade?
Sea Trade.
I'm speaking.
Okay, so this is what happened. That makes sense. So they sent me a thing that we want you to do a panel. I said, well, I'm going to be in Hawaii. I wish I could, but you should contact Johnny Jet.
That's awesome.
But they probably had already.
Well, I spoke there last year.
Yeah, so she already knew all about you. Probably you told them to contact me.
That's actually probably true.
Thank you, Johnny.
I'm always trying to get you to go. I tell the cruise lines that I work with too to.
That would be a really good one for me to go to because I think one of our retirement strategies might be for me and Lisa to lecture on these things.
Yeah, this is the biggest cruise conference. I mean, it's huge. People from
really
all
wanted to go next year. Next year, I really want to do it because I want to get to know these guys. Their Silver Sea has a world cruise. It's already sold out 2 years from now.
Wow.
And it's the best world cruise I've ever seen because it's an expedition cruise. It starts in Antarctica, ends in the North Pole. You go pole to pole.
Oh, my goodness.
It is the most amazing cruise ever, and it's 5.5 months.
How much is that one?
Oh, man. If you have to ask, you could get a yacht for less.
It's got to be.
I think the room we would want is about $200,000 each.
I was right around. I was there.
Yeah.
Each 200 each.
Each.
Wow.
You can get on for 100 each, but you'll be hanging off the back of the boat. It's 5.5 months, Johnny. It's a long time. It's 147 days or something, 150 days. Oh, but it looks so cool. We're going to see how much if we like this Silver Sea that we're doing this fall. We've been on it once before. We went to the Galapagos, and we really liked it. If we like it again, then I see, because my goal is the day I retire. I told Lisa, the day we retire, we're getting on board a boat, and we're not coming back for 6 months.
Wow. Well,
so, but I've always said this, and then it's just a question of which line and where. But this is the first one I've seen that's not like touristy, but real, like wild expedition. They don't stop in normal places at all. I'll show you after the section. Here we go.
And are you pre-taping for your trip to Hawaii, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We're going in April, first week in April, so I guess it'll be soon. We'll let you know. John's on vacation. When he gets back, we'll do it. Johnny Jet. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Leo.
You were flying yesterday. Where were you flying to?
Actually, I wasn't flying. I was on a cruise ship.
So now you're going to make me jealous. What cruise ship and where?
It's not to make it too. It was actually just a couple hours. Carnival Cruise Lines had a charity event for the Boys and Girls Club of Long Beach and for Dr. Seuss's 115th birthday yesterday. And so they had Joey Fatone from NSYNC read a story, and so I brought my son Jack.
Oh, what fun!
And
which boat was it on?
Carnival Splendor.
Those things are beautiful, aren't they? Wow.
So, I mean, it's nothing like, I haven't been on Carnival cruise ship in over 20 years.
That was my first cruise.
It was mine too.
1981.
It was a bachelor party cruise.
It was my first honeymoon. I've had many since, but that was my first. It was a lot of fun. I think that's what got me hooked. That's my favorite way to vacation.
Well, I mean, it's so cheap. I mean, literally, if you can stay away from the casino and alcohol, you can cruise for a couple $100 a trip sometimes.
Yeah. But what fun is that?
Less than $100. Less than $100 a day and it includes your food, your entertainment, accommodations. Obviously,
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you made it back from that 3-hour cruise, though, because you know what happens. Yeah.
I know.
I think you'd be the professor. Yeah. No, you're a professor. So Johnny joins us every week to help us. He actually gives lectures on this. We're lucky to have him. We don't have to pay any admission fee on how to travel better using technology.
Yes. So, I'm always looking for great flight deals.
Yeah.
And, I sign up to pretty much all the newsletters. I visit hundreds of websites. I download dozens of apps. And so in my humble opinion, I truly believe that the best deals are found on flyertalk.com, which is under the mileage forum. Also, Scott's Cheap Flights, which they have a free version, but the premium version, they email you a lot quicker. And also the Flight Deal, which is a free newsletter. But there's a lot of apps out there that actually curate deals, I think found mostly from these three places that I'm just mentioning. And one of them is called Jetto, Jetto. And so what I like about them, although they give you one free deal, usually a day, otherwise you got to pay for the premium, which is $6.99 a month, or I think $100 or $39 a year. And what the difference is that they'll send you an alert on your phone. But I'm pretty sure that they actually get the deals from those three places I mentioned. But you don't have to check your emails, and you can pick the airports you're flying out of. So,
how much can you save, really, though?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Tons of money. I mean, literally. Yesterday, Scott's Cheap Flight sent an email. Europe over the New Year's for like $300 round trip.
And you've always said this. That's part of the deal, is being flexible about your travel time. You can't say, well, June 14th, what's the best deal then? You got to be able to go, a little more flexibly.
Well, not always, though. And this was an example. Actually, yesterday the deals came out and they were good for, peak times, which is New Year's.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean, so again, to find a cheap deal, you really, really need to do your homework. And I actually wrote a post on 17 ways how to find cheap flights. And I list all the stuff I'm talking about now, but there's all kinds of methods. I mean, using a flight alert is probably the best. And now Google does it for free, and they make it really easy. So if you use Google Flights, you put in your city pairs, your dates, and then they will let you know when the flight drops. You'd have to search it. It wouldn't be on the homepage because I wrote it a couple months ago.
Okay.
I mean, I wrote it a while ago. I keep updating it.
JohnnyJet.com and search for travel deals.
Just search 17 ways to find a cheap flights, or just search cheap flights, and it should show up. And anyway, but you set these fare alerts. So Google does a really good job. Also, YAPTA, YAPTA.com. What I like about YAPTA is that you can set the price you want to pay, and they will alert you when it dips below that. Google will just tell you if the flight's going up or down, and they'll monitor it that way. So, I mean, actually, the ideal thing to do is search both ways, or
Nice.
set fare alerts for both. And you can always find you'd be surprised. I mean, I monitor prices all the time, and it's just they change every day. I mean, they're changing multiple times a day.
This is kind of new. It used to be, 30 years ago, there was pretty consistent. But thanks to computers and the fact that if an airplane seat flies empty, it's a loss to the airline, they've gotten really sophisticated about pricing. If you asked every passenger in a plane what they paid, there'd be almost as many prices as there are people on the plane.
True, very true.
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of seats in each fare bucket, but you again, they're always changing. You can't figure it out because typically if you wait till the last minute, they're going to go up because they think you're a business traveler and that you have funds. But it's not always the case. Sometimes I've seen them go down. So you don't want to buy too early.
That was my other question. Is there a prime time? But it sounds like there isn't.
There really isn't. I mean, there's been studies. Kayak, Hipmunk, all these guys come out with different studies that show, certain destinations. It all depends on a destination. Sometimes they say 54 days before flying, but you don't really want to do it way in advance because unless there's a sale. If you see a really good sale, jump on it. Or if it's Southwest Airlines and they have a sale, again, that's when you want to do it.
It always seems to me like Southwest is cheaper than anybody else. Are there airlines that?
No, they're not though.
They're not.
Actually, Southwest is not. They used to be, but they. Not in every route, and also they include the bag, so you can get 2 free check bags with Southwest.
That's another problem. It's very hard sometimes to compare fares because there's hidden costs.
Yeah, you really have to be careful, especially if you're buying a basic fare. Now, all the low fare carriers like Spirit, Allegiant, they charge even for a carry-on. Frontier.
Oh, I know.
And if you don't book it in advance, when you show up to the gate and you think you can get on with a carry-on to put in the overhead bin, they'll charge you $65 at the gate just to bring a carry-on.
Yeah, so much for my savings, right? And I still get a tiny little seat.
Yeah, if you can bring a purse, like the size of a purse, and put it underneath your seat, it's free. Yeah. But to use the overhead bin, and on some of these, they will charge you, even in the mainline carriers now, American, Delta, and American, you have to read the fine print and make sure that if you're buying a basic economy fare, that you know what you're getting into.
Couldn't I just have my travel agent do that?
You could, but
they may not spend as much time as they need to get you the best deal.
A lot of travel agents don't even want to just do a simple ticket.
They don't make enough money.
They're not making any money. They'll charge you. Most of them will charge you either a $25 or a $40 fee.
Oh.
But I mean, because the airlines aren't paying them,
right?
They make their money in hotels, cruises, package deals.
Okay,
but
that's why I always book my cruises through Jane. Now I can ask her for flights because I'm a good customer, right?
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about booking through a travel agent is that, let's say there is a big winter storm or a volcano and you cannot get through to the airline. I mean, they'll put you on hold for 5 hours if you don't have any kind of
status. By the way, I
status.
saw you tweet, United is saying because of the winter storm back east,
yep.
What do they call that when you can get
a fee waiver?
A fee waiver.
And so I just tweeted United's, but every airline, they'll match that.
So if you have a booked flight and today to the East Coast, you can change it at no cost to you. No.
Correct. And actually, that's another tip, by the way. You can use those fee waivers to your advantage. Let's say you wanted to stay home. For example, one time my nephew said, you know what, Uncle Johnny, I don't want to get on a 6 a.m. flight. It was so cheap. How do I take the later flight? I was like, listen, the only way you can do it is if there's a big storm and there's a fee waiver.
You call him up and say, I can't travel.
There was a big storm.
Hold out for the storm, folks. Johnny Jet, he's at johnnyjet.com. It's a great read. Subscribe to his free travel newsletters. You can also find him on Twitter and Instagram and right here every week. Thanks, Johnny.
You. So, I'll put this in the chat room, my 17 ways, so you don't have people to look it up, and I'll tweet it out.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. All right, congratulations on the new jet.
Thank you.
Give my love to your beautiful Natalie, and she's all up for it. She's excited.
Oh my God, she really wanted. We both really wanted to have a playmate for Jack.
You're going to stop at 2, though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I did right after my second child? I immediately got a vasectomy.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's gotta hurt.
Well, not that bad. No, it doesn't hurt. They give you an anesthetic, John.
No.
It's a psychological thing for guys.
One of my buddies told me
Doesn't hurt.
But the day after.
It's a little sore. Okay, so the big trick, you're going to do it, right?
No, I'm not doing it.
Oh, well, then I won't tell you the trick. You don't need to know. It's worth doing because then look, I'm done. I'm not going to go off and have more kids, a second family, none of that. I've had 2. We, 0 population growth. 2 adults, 2 kids. We're done. And then Natalie can beg you all you want, and you said, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you there." No, it was the best thing I did. I tell you, it was great. I feel very happy that I did that.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I think we'll have to do this conversation in private sometime.
All right, yes. Well, so I hope we get a chance to have a drink or two someday in the near future.
By the way, I am coming up to San Francisco. I'm speaking at the Bay Area Travel Adventure Show March 22nd and 23rd, if that's a Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, I'm stuck here, but if it is...
I know. It's in Santa Clara. So.
No, you're not going to come up here. That's too far.
That's a hike.
Yeah, that's too far.
But I might extend a night and go up to the city or to Marin.
If you do, let me know. I know you like to go to Cavallo Point.
I do like to go there, but
that's a nice place.
Yes.
Well, if you do, we'll have drinks there.
Okay, good.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Right,
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Jay, Lakewood, California. You're next. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Leo. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
I have a stack of mini DVs or video tapes that I would love to figure out how to put on a computer and then burn them to DVDs and give them away.
I presume you no longer have your mini DV camcorder.
No, that I do.
You do? And it works?
I do not have the power cord, so I have to keep recharging the battery. But
no.
But yeah,
Yeah. So
I can play a tape.
That's the trick with this format is, with any format, is you need a player to play it back. If you don't, or you don't want to take the time, because it's going to take you exactly as long as those tapes are, add up the hours to do it. If that's too much time, there are plenty of service bureaus, companies that you can mail those into. They'll convert them to DVD for you. If you want to do it yourself, you need something you can plug the camcorder into. You'll be playing the tape back from the camcorder that plugs into the computer. It's called a digitizer. And there are huge ranges of quality and capabilities on these things. I think these days, do you have a laptop or a PC that you can use?
Yes.
Okay. I would probably go to a company called Hapag, H-A-U. I don't know how they stay in business with this name. H-A-U-P-P-A-U-G-E. Believe it or not, it's a town in Long Island. And they thought, it'd be great to name ourselves after our town. And they make a variety of boxes that will take video inputs and turn them into bits. So you need something like that. You need They've kind of lately moved into the TV space because there's fewer and fewer people doing this. The other company that has for a long time made very good digital converters is Grass Valley. Let me just see if they still sell these. What was they? It was AVHD, I think was the name of the product. AVC HD converters. They still do make these, I think. Canopus was another brand name. What you're looking for is, unfortunately, a lot of these devices, external devices, use USB. You're looking for the fastest connection, so you don't get anything that's USB 2. If you can get USB 3, or better yet, Thunderbolt, that's going to do a better job because the pipe going to the computer is very narrow in USB. That means that box is going to have to squunch that video down a lot, reducing the quality before it can shove it down that pipe. A fatter pipe like USB 3 or Thunderbolt, they're not going to have to squunch it as much.
Okay.
So you need a little box. You have to look at this and make sure it has the connectors. It'll work with your camcorder. So I'm not sure what your camcorder has coming out of it.
This has, old style, larger micro USB, port, the kind of more rectangular ones than the skinny ones, and I think it's also got the RCA jacks.
Yes, that's another issue because, ideally you'd have a digital out of some kind, and maybe one of those is. A lot of times that USB was not for out, but you'll have to look at the manual, and you could probably find that online if you've...
Yeah, it says 2PC, so...
Oh, good, all right.
I could probably connect it.
The old days, sometimes you'd have FireWire, which is the old Sony standard, and unfortunately those don't exist on PCs anymore, but you might be able to get a FireWire to USB or a FireWire to Thunderbolt converter. You want to use the fastest input your computer can handle. And again, you're going to have to match output from the camcorder to input to the PCs. You got to make sure you have compatibility with both.
Right.
And then it's just a matter of press and play on the tape. Most of these things will come with some primitive form of software, but you can also use iMovie or video. Any Vegas video program will record the input from that device. Usually, these devices come with some sort of hardware or software.
Okay.
And then you record it. Now you've got the bits, and once you got the bits, you can do anything you want, including burning the DVD, editing, sending it to friends, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, usually the USB output was for stills because there's not enough bandwidth to get the good quality video out. So I bet you that squarish thing you're seeing is mini FireWire. Mini FireWire. Another company, RC Chandra in the chat room is mentioning is Aver Media. I don't know if they're still around. All this stuff, it's kind of funny because all of this stuff was very popular for a 5-year period about 10 years ago. And now fewer and fewer people are doing it. You used to be able to buy it. I guess you still can. Remember those VHS players that would have a DVD burner in it? You play back your VHS tape and burn the DVD. Those are all kind of transitional devices as we moved from an analog to a digital world. The mini DV at least is digital, and that's why if you could get a digital output from it, that would be the best quality. If you're taking the RCA jacks, probably what's happening is the mini DV player is converting it internally to analog to come out through those RCA jacks. Get the bits if you can. The bits will be the highest quality. Jay in Lakewood, California. Hello, Jay. Oh, no, that was Jay. Hi, Robert in Los Angeles. You're next. Hi, Robert.
Thanks for taking the call. Hey, listen, do I need to get an antivirus like Nod32 for my smartphone, or is what comes with the phone okay?
No, in fact, it really irks me. The new Samsung Galaxy phones all come with the McAfee antivirus, which is, I don't know, how can I describe that? It's like having a car come with a mailbox. It's just, it's not necessary. All mobile devices now are designed to be more secure because mobile operating systems, iOS and Android, were designed in a post-PC world when we already knew about hackers and viruses. So they're inherently more secure. And both Apple and Google do a lot to secure them. For instance, when you download something from the Google Play Store, the Android device, it will scan it first. It has a scanner and will remove anything with known vulnerabilities. That's the best any third party can do anyway. So since Google's already doing it, what do you need another one? Similarly, Apple is very careful about what they let into the store in the first place. Apple's probably safer even but in both cases, Apple and Google have had bad guys sneak into the store. They have the ability to kill those anyway. The best thing you can do if you're using a mobile device is just not download apps from strange places. Don't get ruskywallpaper.com. Great pictures of Kremlin. Don't get that. Why would you get that? Don't get that. If you get known good software from well-established companies, you're fine. You don't need an antivirus on any mobile platform. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really annoys me that and this is what Samsung's famous for. They bundle as much as they can, and PC makers have done this for years, right? You You go ahead and buy a Windows PC that doesn't have McAfee or Symantec bundled into it. You don't even need it on a desktop. It's just an ad. And it irks me because you can't actually delete it from a Galaxy phone. You can disable it, but you can't delete it. And I don't want it taking up space. I don't need it. I don't want it. And in fact, as I've mentioned many times before, putting an antivirus on an operating system often opens new holes into the operating system. So don't come on, Samsung. Come on, man. All right. I don't want to wrap up the show on a rant. It's been a very nice day, and I want to really thank you for being here. I'm happy again. It's okay. Thanks to Big Pee-wee, our musical director, who always makes me happy with his great choices. Thank you, Pee-wee. Thanks to the wonderful Kimmy Schaffer. She's incredible for answering the phones for us today. And thanks most of all, of course, to you for listening. TechGuyLabs.com all week long. Lots of great stuff there. The Twit Podcast Network, too. I'll see you next time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.